Hello, everybody. Cheers to the superb Saturday. We are discussing chapter number 3 from Moments, the supplementary book. The chapter is Iswaran, the storyteller. Yesterday, we discussed to a great deal the art of storytelling, and we also discussed that along with the content, more important is the skill of narrating the story. And Iswaran is the master storyteller. Obviously, is going to narrate a story here in the chapter as well. So you be prepared to face it. This is a horror story. So don't get horrified, as Mahendra could not stop himself getting under the influence of the story. Because as I told you, sometimes there are stories that make us believe the things to be happening true, and we find the things happening to ourselves once we have the story heard. To such an extent, Mahendra was influenced by the story or by the way it was narrated in such a realistic way that the characters they came alive, and Mahendra was haunted by the similar spirits and characters, and subsequently he changed his logins. Can you believe that one can be so much influenced by a story? That was not the story that influenced him, it was the skill of the storyteller, Iswaran. And I'm sure he'll also not be able to remain unaffected by the way he narrates the story to Mahendra. So, continuing with this chapter, let we are to start here. First of all, yes, though we had read this paragraph yesterday, so even then I'll be starting it here, dear students. Let me quickly start flashing myself off. Yeah, there we go. Mahendra would be up early in the morning and leave for this is where the daily routine of Mahindra is Mahindra and Eastwood both is described. Mahindra would be up early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food with him. Meanwhile, what would Eastwaran do? Now, Eastwaran would uh, very at an easy pace. He would tidy up the shed first of all. He would wash the clothes and have a leisurely bath. It would take him much time to bathe and pouring several buckets of water. Not only one, though it's not a good habit. It's a bad habit, wasting water. We must save every drop of water. So please do not copy this from Iswaran. He is just a master storyteller, but this is such a bad habit, wasting too much of water in bathing. So he would pour several buckets of water over his head, muttering all the while a prayer, an inaudible prayer, muttering to himself. It would be lunchtime by then, and after eating, he would read a while. He was fond of reading before retiring, before taking a nap. Dozing off means to fall asleep. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. He would read that thick books. Its imaginative descriptions and narrative flourishes would hold Iswaran in thrall, in a cradle of excitement, and he would be a part of the story himself and got detached and disconnected from the real world and would get into the story. His own descriptions were greatly influenced by the Tamil authors that he read. The way he narrates the story, the way he describes the characters, all those were coming from all the Tamil authors that he had read. When he was narrating even the smallest of incidents, yes, every part of the story matters. Yes, no part of the story is insignificant. No character is insignificant. It's not that only the characters, only the protagonist, only the characters in the main role uh, are important or significant. No, each and every otherwise considered menial and trivial part is very, very important. And each role, each part is equally significant. And Iswaran understands it fully well. So, even the smallest of incidents, he would try to work in suspense and a surprise ending into the account. Yes, this is the skill of the storyteller to hold the suspense till the last. For example, instead of saying that he had come across an no, there are various ways of saying the same thing. Now, this is an example given here that will tell you more clearly about Eastern's storytelling skills. Instead of saying that he had come across an uprooted tree on the highway, maybe he was going somewhere and he came across where a tree fell on the road and he came across an uprooted tree blocking his way on the highway. How would he put the same thing forth to the listener? He would not say it naturally or normally, rather, he would say it with his eyebrows suitably arched up, shot up, and hands held out in dramatic gesture, grimacing, adding to the severity of the occasion. The road was deserted, he would say. Deserted means that there was nobody else on the road scene, and I was all alone. Suddenly, I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast lying sprawled across the road. So he would not first term it as the tree. The simple thing was that it was the tree, felled on the road. But how would he describe it? That I came across somebody that looked more like a tree, or that was an enormous, gigantic figure sprawling on the road with his hands and limbs sprawled across the road, lying down like a bushy beast. I was half inclined to turn and go back, but as I came closer, I saw that it was not a beast, it was not a human figure, it was just a fallen tree with its dry branches spread out, taking the shape of arms. This is how he would describe even the simplest and smallest of things. I hope this has told you aptly about the storytelling skills of Iswaran. I think this is enough to convince you that he was the master storyteller. Mahendra would stretch himself back in his canvas chair and listen to Iswaran's tales uncritically. Uncritically means without thinking much about it, without going into the depth of it, without looking at the story from a critical angle. The place I come from is famous for timber. Iswaran would begin narrating his story. That the place I come from is famous for timber. There is richly wooded forest. Timber is fuel wood and all, timber is wood used for construction and other works. There is richly wooded forest all around. The logs are hauled on to the lorries by elephants. Means lorries are pushed and pulled by the elephants to carry the huge log of woods. They are huge, well-fed beasts used for elephants. When they turn wild, even the most experienced Mahout is the person who tames the elephant, right? So Iswaran shares with Mahendra that when these huge, gigantic beasts, elephants, once they turn wild and once they go out of control, it is impossible even for the most experienced Mahout to control them. After this prologue, Iswaran would launch into an elaborate anecdote involving an elephant. Means he has set the preface, prologue, okay, that comes before the starting of the story, and what happens next is the epilogue of the story, right? Prologue is the preface of the story, an establishment of the story. So before narrating, so this was his skill again. This is what every good leader, every good teacher should learn. But before coming on to the point, they should give or extend a preface. And Iswaran was so artful in this because he was going to narrate a story on elephants today. So therefore, before coming on to the story, he gave a description of how wild elephants can be and how huge they are. So one day, Tusker is a word used for elephants only. One day, so there starts the story. Oh, the screenshot is taken by mistake. One day what happened? A tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about. It went wild, it went stamping on the bushes, tearing up the wild creepers and breaking branches at his will. So means the elephant one day escaped from the timber yard and went out of control. You know, sir, how an elephant behaves when it goes mad? Ishwaran would get so caught up in the excitement of his own story that he would get up from the floor and jump about, grimace, and act like the character. Like when he is saying the elephant jumped over the branches, he would jump probably on the floor to give it realistic effects. And he would stamp his feet in emulation of the mad elephant. Emulating means copying, imitating the mad elephant. The elephant reached the outskirts, in the outer boundaries of the periphery of the town, breaking the fences down like matchsticks. He would continue. Mahendra Aiswaran would continue the story that once the elephant escaped from the yard, smashing all the things on the way, the elephant reached the boundary of the town, breaking all the fences, all the barricades down like small matchsticks. It came in it came into the main road and smashed all the stalls selling fruits, mud pots, and cloths. People ran helter-skelter in panic. People helter-skelter means in a state of utter confusion and chaos. Ruckus, you can also say. So people were running helter-skelter, all full of panic. The elephant now entered a school ground where children were playing. Oh my God! Now this is quite concerning because everyone is attached to children irrevocably. Now what happens next? Once the elephant entered the school ground and there were children playing in the ground, and the elephant entered, breaking through the brick wall that was the fence of the school, the boundary of the school. So it pulled himself itself against across the brick wall. All the boys ran into the classrooms out of fear and they shut the doors tight. There was a great deal of panic in the school. And the beast, the elephant, grunted is a producing noise through nose. The beast grunted and wandered about in the school, pulling out the football goal post, tearing down the volleyball net, kicking and flattening the drum that was kept for water. The entire water was spilled, and he uprooted all the shrubs grown in the school ground. Meanwhile, all the teachers they had already climbed up to the terrace of the school building out of fear, from where they helplessly watched the depredations of the elephant, the ruckus created by the elephant. It's already given here. It is given in the glossary as well. Depredation means to vandalize the things, to damage the things around wantonly. So there was not a soul below on the ground, not a person was to be seen. Everybody they had sheltered themselves in, and some had climbed even the terrace. So the ground was altogether vacant. The streets were empty, as if the inhabitants are the people who live in. So the inhabitants, the people who lived around the, there, had suddenly disappeared. All had locked themselves inside, as nobody wanted to be the target. I was studying in the junior class at that time and I was watching the whole drama from the rooftop. Now, Iswaran put himself into the situation as one of the characters, that he was in the same school and he was studying in the junior class at that time and was watching the whole drama going on from the rooftop. He was also there on the rooftop along with others. I don't know what came over me suddenly, but what I did, I grabbed a cane, a stick from the hands of the teachers, one of the teachers, and I ran down the stairs into the open, so confidently and so boldly, to the surprise and amazement of everybody out there. The elephant grunted and menacingly swung a branch of a tree which it held in its trunk. The elephant flung a branch at me, quite menacingly, in a bid to destroy and cause harm, is menacingly. To hurt me, to injure me, to attack me, it threw a branch at me. that it held in its trunk, and the elephant stamped its feet, kicking up a lot of mud and dust. In wildness, it looked frightening. That was really horrible, but I did not give up. I moved slowly towards it with a stick in my hand. People were watching the scene. They were hypnotized, magnetized from nearby housetops. All had climbed their housetops by then, and they were watching the entire scene, me face to face with that elephant. Me, a small boy with just a small stick in hand, face to face with an elephant so huge and out of control. Maddened, the elephant looked at me red-eyed, ready to rush towards me. It lifted its trunk and trumpeted loudly. Trumpet is again, otherwise it's a drum, a musical instrument, but here it is making sound continuously is to trumpet. Yes, because elephant's signature sound is sounds more like a trumpet, right? Uh, at that moment, I moved forward and mustering all my force means to gathering all my courage. I wagged its third toenail on the quick. You see what he did. The beast looked stunned for a moment, and then it shivered from head to foot and collapsed. So he wagged, means to stone, to hit at something. What did I do? I wagged the third toenail of the elephant very quickly, and the beast looked stunned for a while. Stunned means surprised for a moment, and then it shivered, trembled right from head to foot. The entire body shivered, and then the elephant collapsed down on the ground. At this point, Iswaran would leave the story unfinished and get up mumbling, "I'll be back after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner," leaving the story, leaving the listener to extreme level of curiosity. This is what these reality shows do. This is what these soap operas do. Yes, they leave the episode at such a point where it leaves the audience and the spectators guessing and all the more earnest to watch the next episode. So this is another art. He would deliberately do it. He would leave the story at such an end that the listener doesn't even move from the place. And yes, at this point, Eastman would leave the story unfinished and get up mumbling. Mumbling means to say something softly and quietly. "I'll be back after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner." Warming up the dinner, and he would get up and go and perform the said. Mahendra, who had been listening with rapt attention, rapt means he was totally mesmerized. Rapturous means to be totally into it, rapt attention. He would be left hanging. When he returned, Iswaran would not pick up the thread of the story right away. It's not that he would straight away continue from there itself. Mahendra would have to remind him that the conclusion was pending and all these things were already said. Well, a veterinary doctor, veterinary is a doctor to animals. A veterinary doctor was summoned to revive the animal. This is what happened next in the story. Iswaran would shrug is shrugging the shoulders, the movement of the shoulders, casually. 2 days later, it was led away by its Mahawat to the jungle. This is what happened in the story. And then my mind, the mind of Mahendra was a school of questions. So many questions were coming up in his mind. That how it happened, how did he manage to do that? How did you bring the beast down? And then Iswaran would explain. Let me see, it's time, dear students, already. So let me mark it here and let me put up on the screen. So this is all for today, dear students. I hope you are liking it. I hope you find it really very intriguing and interesting. So to unfurl the remaining part of the story, stay tuned and pick up those videos. I'll cover the remaining part of the story in another video and we'll come up with it tomorrow. Till then, have a nice day. Have a nice time. Thank you so much.